Hey, welcome to I Want to Be Your Canary. This is Cullen, and this is my dear friend Scooter.
What's happening?
Hey, we are coming, well, not live, I guess, but dang, would have sounded cool coming live to you from, well, not yet. Who knows? Maybe
Close enough. Yeah, we'll get live.
But
we'll be on the radio. Airwaves.
One day.
Yeah.
Hey, we're coming to you with another episode today. We're missing our buddy Ross, but he'll be back. He's just in the midst of finishing up that master's degree.
How to do schooling.
Hopefully you don't lose too many followers because they're missing the voice of the ever knowing. I don't even know.
The mind trap.
Ross. Mind trap.
The most important one of us, honestly.
Yeah, probably. I would absolutely agree with that.
He remembers so much more than we do.
It's pretty impressive. That's why we've kind of stopped or slowed down on some of these shows. Like, we got to have Ross on these.
Gotta write down notes.
He doesn't need notes. He's got notes in his head.
I know.
But we're ready. We're ready for one. We're ready to drop one, and he'll be back soon. So today we are talking about what would be the best Final Fantasy to start with.
First time you've ever played one. Think you haven't played these. You've never done it before. This is a whole new experience for you. You're kind of curious about this because you've heard Ross talking about them for a while or whoever, and you want to dip your toes into it. So yeah, which one should you do?
So that made me start thinking about, who is our target audience that we would be selling this to? Is it somebody who enjoys RPGs? Is it somebody who has played, other RPG series? Is it somebody who just plays video games but has never been into the genre? Is it somebody who's never played? Because I think that shifts the conversation a little bit.
Oh, for sure. If this is somebody that has been playing, classic Diablo or RuneScape or any kind of, old school RPG, and they've never played a Final Fantasy, number one, I would be surprised. Number two, I think you've given us both two choices to deliver to the audience today of which ones we would propose to play first. So I've given some thought to that, the old school player and then the new school player for myself. But hey, maybe there's some people out there listening that haven't played at all. So this is for you.
This is for you. Actually, this is for all of you. And just a quick plug, because we might as well. You can always follow us on Twitter at Canary Podcast. That is, and that's such a great handle, Scooter. I can't believe that you picked that up. I mean,
we got lucky.
It seems like there's 7 billion Twitter accounts, right? And that's just like the perfect. It's short, it's easy, and it totally works.
Hey, it fits. You can find us.
You can find us, and we do have a nice little following. It is humble beginnings, but we so much appreciate it. It's so cool. It's so cool to see people appreciating this that we just do for fun.
It is
so cool.
It is. It's honestly awesome. But let's continue on with the real show here. Let's not get all
right. Not get emotional over this.
Exactly.
All right. So, Scooter, do you want me to go first, or would you like to go first?
Ooh, I feel like you guys have tossed me the plate a few times in the past, so I'm gonna throw it back your way.
Okay.
Let's see what. Okay, all right. So again, the show is first Final Fantasy. You've never played one. We're gonna give you our opinions on which one you should do. All right, Colin, are you gonna go with your?
And we both have 2 of them, right?
We do.
We both have 2 of them.
2, yeah. So do you want to give your heavy hitter first or your light one? Because I'm gonna give you some. I'm gonna push back on you on these probably. Tell you're wrong. And show you what's up.
Perfect. I look forward to that, and I'll do the same for you, and I'll chime in when I think. Hey, I think that's good there, and I think that this could be not so good of a thing. So I'm not going to throw my heavy hitter out yet.
Okay.
But I am going to start off with the one that, I think that is just a good introduction to Final Fantasy as a whole, and that's Final Fantasy IX. And Final Fantasy IX, I think, is a great beginner Final Fantasy. It is. There's a lot of people who will say that it's their favorite, it's the best one. I think I've probably heard that, aside from 7, probably more than any other one.
That Final Fantasy
People say that nine's their
is
favorite.
their favorite. You know, it's fun.
Especially. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's funny you say that, people say that, but I feel like the people that produced and made the game also said that. There's a few famous quotes from some of the key makers of Final Fantasy over the years that said number 9 was their favorite to work on. So you're not alone in that.
Yeah. And if you look at it in the progression, it looks very different from 7, very different from 8. Those two games really tried to take the new gen system and kind of work with those new visual aspects to make it look, as human-like as possible.
Right.
In a lot of regards. And they didn't in 9. They went back to a more traditional, it wasn't like 16-bit or anything, but it was a lot more animated than 7 or 8. It kind of felt like it went back to roots.
It did, but if you grew up around that time, you also kind of I felt that at the same time too. And all right, to push back real quick on that one, like you said, it was around the same time that 7 and 8 came out, but it didn't push the graphics. It didn't push the artistic medium in a new way, I guess. You know what I mean? Now that's all I'm going to say.
It was safe. I feel like it was a safe artistic type, which was fine. I really liked that, and I thought it felt very Final Fantasy. It felt very fantasy. If the characters themselves, it's kind of to start off, the first things that I have on my list of why this would be a good one for people to start off with is because the characters are role characters. There's no need to switch jobs. There's no going through and trying to figure out this labyrinth of job systems.
Right.
And different abilities and what matches with what. And even though as seasoned players, that's something that we may appreciate, for people who are just getting into RPGs or JRPGs for the first time, that might be a little overwhelming, I feel.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel like when you have role characters, especially in 9, you don't have to make a whole lot of decisions about, okay, how do I need to have my party right now? Who needs to be what job? Now, there are multiple people in the party, so you can always choose what jobs you want to be in the party, but you don't have to make those decisions for each character, which I think that is a good thing, especially for new players, because I feel like that can get overwhelming.
Sure.
There's not a whole lot of decisions. You can kind of just let those characters grow into the job that they are supposed to be in.
Okay, let me let me give you a little counter here. Take a step back. Imagine you're going to pitch this to your wife or somebody that has never played these, right? How would you sell it?
How would I sell it?
How would you sell Final Fantasy IX?
That this game is kind of it is really the quintessential Final Fantasy. It's got the feudal looking, castles and kingdoms and empires. And I feel like that's very Final Fantasy.
It is.
I feel like
absolutely.
It's more Dungeons and Dragons and less futuristic cyberpunk kind of stuff.
Which is, it's their classic. I mean, if you played 1 through 4 or even up to 6, like that's the MO, right? Kind of feudal, some of them, let's say. That medieval feudal kind of nation versus nation, or kind of happening of the story.
Yeah, kings and
settings.
queens.
Yes.
That is something that I feel is true Final Fantasy, and that's one of the reasons that I would start off a new player with that, because I feel like that is, if there's an understanding of kind of what the MO is, like this is kind of a Final Fantasy thing. If they like it, they go, oh, this is my jam and I do really like this. Or they say, you know what, that kind of thing is, I don't really care about those storylines. I prefer, a more futuristic thing, then you kind of realize, well, maybe this series isn't so much for me.
Sure.
So by starting it off with 9, it's tough because you start off with such a high point game. And if you play that one, you may not play another Final Fantasy that's been made yet that you like more than 9. So it's a little bit of a dangerous thing, but I really think that it is a great first game. It's got great music. I think that the characters are diverse, and I think that I do like the characters, and I think that they're fun.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I
come on. One of my favorite ones out of the whole series is going to be I'm going to say the name wrong. Quina, the food that you eat. Maybe I don't know.
Quina, someone.
Yeah, someone the frog person thing. That yeah. I mean, if you can't look and laugh at that character and just kind of get a sense of, oh, this is a weird fun game, then sorry, then maybe that's not going to be your cup of tea. But that being said, it's got a lot of really solid character stories in that one too. Some stronger than others, of course.
And that's any Final Fantasy, any game ever.
Yeah, of course.
But I do agree with you. Some other points that I had for 9 is I think that it has enough side quests to satisfy. Being that it was in, it was a PlayStation 1 game. It wasn't a PlayStation 4 game now where there's a million different side quests that you can do. There were a couple of things that you could, do on the side. The card game, the chocobo digging, beating Ozma. So it wasn't just, here is a linear storyline and there's nothing else that you can do outside of that. There was some exploring that you had to do to get the full effect of the game. There was a little bit of, deviate here and, do this for a little bit of time rather than, just pushing on this quest. I think it's enough to satisfy, but not too much to have someone so inundated by it, like in Skyrim, where you're like, I don't even know what the main quest is anymore.
Sure.
Because I'm doing all this side nonsense.
Yep, open world and here, have fun. Drop you in there and you have no markers of where to go or anything. I love those kind of things, but it also gets overwhelming, like you're saying.
Yeah. And the last two things that I have before we jump to yours is, and I know that there's probably a lot of things that we are missing.
Oh no, I've got some counter notes here. I'm rolling.
Oh, good.
Keep going.
Fantastic. I feel like it has a true Final Fantasy feel, and that's tough to, I guess, verbalize without having played the other ones. But when you play that one, I really feel like, okay, this is a legit Final Fantasy, and you might be able to feel that a little bit more. And when you take it in step with some of the comments that producers and the makers of the game saying it was their favorite, you might be able to feel that a little bit more. In the last, so it feels like a true JRPG. In the last part before you hit me with those counterpoints is, even though those characters are relatively static in their roles, I feel like there's enough flexibility in the characters, kind of like a faux flexibility, I guess, in some regards to, the abilities that you learn, because you learn it based on the weapons and armor that you equip, but you can only equip certain things. So, you're probably getting the abilities and spells or what have you. You're going to get them because you can only equip certain things. And the ability point system is enough customization for a new player where they get to have the character be a little bit more dynamic than just being like, okay, well, you learned this. Okay, now you can't be silenced. So now you can't be blind. I really liked some of the names for that, like Bright Eyes and some of the different, level up, some of the different things that you could put on your character. But you always had to switch those out. And I thought that was a cool customizable feature. And I think that is something that would be a nice introduction for a new player.
I don't disagree with a lot of that, but I do with a little bit. And funny enough, one of our viewers disagrees with all of it. So I'll give you my points here real quick. All right, the side quests that we talked about here, they're too long in that game. You know what I mean? To do it, you tried and 100%, or even just trying to complete Osmos, that final boss, or the you know, that guy,
That world.
that whole world of the chocobo digging thing, that whole side quest, that took up so many hours to do, and to try and beat that boss, which wasn't even really a boss, it was a side boss, and it was almost impossible. I it was frustrating at the time. I never finished that, that I never beat it for that boss. Beat the game without doing a lot of the side quests. I liked them, but that game, they felt a little bit tedious and long. Other counterpoint, real quick, static rules of characters that you're talking about here. Some of them had, yeah, I could agree, static rules where you can't, you got to learn it through the weapons and stuff. I didn't mind that too much. I think what really got me kind of weird with the roles of characters weren't so much the characters in your party, but specifically with the antagonist of the story. Well, there were two main ones, right? And I didn't understand how or why the Queen Brana, or I forget exactly. Why? Why was she so upset and angry? It just seemed like it seemed like an excuse for her to go on a kind of rampaging world domination for no real reason. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
that to me it kind of fell flat on that note. All right, Colin, I'm not gonna lie. I agree with you with most all of that rest of that stuff that with most all of the rest that you said. I pretty much agree. But do you want to read what one viewer said to us here, or do you want me to read it back to you and you can counter the points?
Let's. You know what? I want to do that, but
You want to save that for another comment day?
We got to save that because
Yeah.
I know Ross is fire and brimstone about that comment.
Oh,
And
good.
Yeah, so if we did that one without him, he may not forgive us.
Good. Then we'll save good comments, everybody. Send them to us on Twitter, why you agree or disagree, YouTubes, or however you want to get a hold of us. Send it in, and we'll have a good show and discuss it with you guys and gals and peoples and everyone's around the worlds.
Fax it in.
Fax it in, sure. Send it courier mail, would you, or pigeon mail. There you go.
Bingo. Like World War I.
Exactly. So, I mean, all right. That it's weak arguments against it, I will admit. But, I have a hard time arguing against this game because I really do enjoy number 9, and I think you hit a lot of solid points of, especially the point, and like I was saying earlier, is when you mentioned this, when you play this game and you played some of the other Final Fantasies, especially the older ones, this one feels, it feels like a love project. You know what I mean? It feels like the team that made it decided to do something that they wanted to do and not something that the big budget producers wanted them to make. It felt like they went back to their roots. That being said, there are a few things that I didn't like about it, but it's a dang good game.
It sure is. All right, let's shift focus and have you bring me through your first game. I don't know if you're going to go with your heavy hitter or if you're going to go with your second one.
Yeah.
But
I'll start light.
Hit me with that. Light. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I don't have super many notes on this one, but we'll get through it. All right, okay, everybody. So, Billy Mays here to sell you Final Fantasy 15. This wonderful game is new, brand new, great graphics. It's got gameplay, it's got action, it's got everything that you need for the modern action play. Grab it right now. It's on sale for $15 down to your local store. All right, so that's my sell to everyone out there for you that haven't played any of these kind of games. Final Fantasy 15. Yeah, obviously not. All right, hey, most of you listening probably know that this isn't really one of the better ones, but for anyone that's new that hasn't played this series, this might be one that you want to check out because, hey, it's new, it's modern, it's going to be a good game. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to play on your new system on your 4K TV. It's going to look great. All right. The number one thing with this game, graphics. It looks amazing. Not just go look at the trailers and stuff. There's not much more to say about it. You just need to see it. It's got a wonderfully designed, fleshed out world to explore. Awesome monsters, fleshed out towns, characters. It's got easy to play kind of mechanics where it's not necessarily button mash, but it's pretty close. I'm not gonna lie. It's not a complicated RPG system. The fighting is very live action. It's very Kingdom Hearts. If you've played those, you're gonna love this. You're gonna just fall right into it. Did I mention the graphics were amazing? Because they're amazing.
I think you may have.
It's all right. So the one difference in this one, if this is your thing, it's a total bromance story. So if you dig on that kind of stuff, hey, there you go. The thing that I really liked about this game that was a lot of fun is that, like I said, it's a like most of these, it's an open world to explore, but this one even more so because it's a seamless transition into that open world from town to town and all that kind of stuff. You just roll up into one. There's no, hard cutscene or hard loading screen or anything like that. You can just roll through the whole world and go explore. Very, very Skyrim-esque, if you will.
Yes, I would agree with that. Before, I'm just writing down some notes here, so I'm gonna let you finish with your points before I launch into any counterpoints.
Okay. All right, so a few more things that new people that haven't ever played these kind of games that might get a big kick out of it. Yes, this is an RPG. Yes, you're going to be going questing. Yes, you're going to be doing a little bit of grinding for XP. Maybe not. Not as much in this one at all, honestly. Some things that you're not going to be expecting in this game, though. You get to drive around a car later in the game. You get to fly around in a car later in the game. Spoilers. It's a little different than I was expecting in how they presented the exploration of the game. So it's not Grand Theft Auto, right? But you still get to have fun driving a car around the world. It's got some fun side quest action, a lot like Skyrim. You might get lost doing the side quests long before you finish the full story, and that's a-okay, because what's a real RPG about? And on that note, I will concede the story is pretty weak. I'll give that up. But why should you play this one first? Because it's modern. Like I said, it's easy, it's fun, it's exciting, and like I said, if you're into the Kingdom Hearts kind of stuff, you're gonna love this stuff. You're gonna pick it up and you're gonna go, oh, those buttons make sense. That's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. It has everything that you would want in a modern game, but it does touch on a few of those classic Final Fantasy tropes. You got chocobos that you can go raise, and there's a farm there, and you can do that whole thing. It's got some classic music that you can play throughout it if you want to. That being said, this is kind of a thing that I like about it for a modern take compared to the old ones, which is why I think, again, audience, if you're new and you haven't listened, try this one first, because this is not a linear game like most of the old ones. Like I said, this is more of a Skyrim choose-your-own-adventure side quest style. Some people don't like that, but hey, that's your bag. There you go. There you go, Cullen. That's my argument. Tell me why I'm wrong.
All right. Well, this is Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg here with the dissenting opinion. So here I go.
Oh, here, all right. Put my cuffs on me.
My biggest gripe with Final Fantasy 15 as a first-time game for trying to get somebody into Final Fantasy series is the main component of the story. The battle is so different than any other Final Fantasy that you're not going to get a true Final Fantasy experience, because anytime you go back to any other game, you're not going to have the same battle system. And I think that that's paramount in the game. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. And there's no other ones like it, right? There's no other ones like it. And and I just feel like that's such a big thing. Like you said, if you like this game, you're gonna love Kingdom Hearts.
Yep, or vice versa.
You know, if that is your bag, if that kind of button mashing is your bag, Kingdom Hearts, Diablo, games like that, that's going to be right up your alley. It is a tough game to really sell as getting somebody into the series, because if they really like it, when they go to turn-based battles, they might go, well, this isn't anything like Final Fantasy 15 at all.
No, yeah. If you're gonna start with this one and go backwards, I'm gonna feel pretty sorry for you. But you just need to know that you're gonna go backwards, and it's gonna be, well, let's just say that you're gonna need to set some more time aside.
Yeah,
you know,
that is true. But to some of your points, yeah, I think the characters are kind of cookie cutter characters.
Didn't dig them.
All pretty much one shade from another.
Yeah.
The graphics are very smooth. The battle is very smooth. That is absolutely true. The summons are awesome. The cutscenes are awesome. It is visually, it is pretty dang close to perfect. It is a beautiful game.
It's hard to argue it's not the best looking one of the bunch so far.
Oh, I don't even think that you need to argue that. I think that absolutely it is. Here's my biggest gripe with Final Fantasy 15. And this just made me so mad that the series did this, is that just overt, bogus cup noodles advertisement garbage that they do in the middle of it makes me so mad. It's just such a sellout thing, and I was so disappointed. I hated that.
I'm glad it was cup of noodles and it wasn't McD's or Coca-Cola or something like that, I guess. That being said, man, I'm surprised nobody's done this before. How is
Yeah, well, I mean, look at any of the Madden games, you'll see it.
Sure. Any sports games nowadays is covered in what seems to be commercials at times,
Right.
They have those scene breaks that are actual commercials, and you're going, am I playing a game or am I watching TV here?
Yeah.
And around the world, you might not, sense that as much, but in the U.S., we live with commercials day in and day out, and it's a weird part of life, that product placement. So the cup of noodles, like I said, man, I guess maybe now they're catching on to the EA Madden kind of thing, and they're realizing they can cash in on it.
Stop. Don't do that.
Yeah. They're going to release a new Final Fantasy every year, Cullen. Every year. It's going to be...
as long as it's good. I mean, that's what they used to do.
Well, is Call of Duty good every year, or is it the same thing,
Yeah, okay. Also Coleman is one that's in that game too.
Coleman the camping equipment.
Yeah, but I mean, not a big. That's not as bad as the cup noodle. I mean, the cup noodles might as well just say, let me tell you where your nearest store is, and here's the price on them, and da 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 da.
Right.
So, but the story, the story was okay. You get railroaded a little bit. That's kind of obnoxious.
You know what? I'm not gonna have an opinion on that story because I haven't done all the DLCs and stuff, and from what I understand from people on the forums and everything, and I feel like this is true. Finish the DLC because it's a full story add-on for each one. I don't know all of it yet because I haven't done it. So
Fair.
Now, but that's a huge counterpoint to this game. Everybody out there is you're gonna have to buy the whole DLC pack. This is one of those modern games that you to buy seasons pass and all that fun, and I'm sure it's on sale now for a decent price. But welcome to the modern subscription-based kind of stuff. It is what it is.
True that. All right, are you ready to jump to my big hitter?
Let's hit it.
All right, the game that I think is the best to introduce anybody who's trying to get into Final Fantasy 2 is Final Fantasy 10.
Okay.
Just the other day, I picked it up, and I hadn't played it for a while since we were in St. Louis, so probably since last summer. And I knew where I was. I played the game, a couple of times, and I just picked it back up, and I was just instantly immersed back into it. It felt like no time had passed at all. I knew exactly what was going on, in part because I think it's a clean story, and it's just a really easy to pick up game. It's very enjoyable. The battle system is pretty easy, And I think that when you get into some of these games, if you're really not familiar with what you're doing and you're trying to figure out what attacks to do and everything, and you're on more of an active time battle where bad guys don't wait for you to attack, that can be a little bit frustrating. So for this, in your battle system, you know when the enemy's going to go, you know when the rest of your team's going to go, and you can even switch out some of your characters on the fly, especially if you're not familiar maybe with, hey, is it smart to have two mages in battle at once and one warrior, or that kind of dynamic of learning. I think that, or if you're just new to it and just don't know, I think that the battle system really makes it new user friendly. And I wonder if they did that because it was a next gen system when they did that was the first release on.
Yeah, it was the first release on the
PlayStation 2.
Right.
Not the first game for the PS2, but it was the first Final Fantasy for the PS2. And I just wonder if they were trying to take some of, kind of funnel in some of that new crowd and say, hey, this is Final Fantasy. See, it's not all that confusing. It's the battle. Yeah. You wait. And we know that in a fight, it's not like, okay, I'm going to hit you and then you're going to punch me back and then I'm going to make my next move.
Right.
But here is how you understand it a little bit better, and I think that is really neat. The battle system's easy. I think that the story is easy to follow and relatable. The main bad guy is Sin.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
It is, yeah. And spoilers or not, yeah.
Yeah,
but
Sin
I think
they
did
ahead.
well. Yeah, I'm already agreeing with you. I think they hit the nail on the head with the bad guys in that one, because you got not only Sin, but you got Seymour and a few other things going on with the whole religion stuff in the background of that. But you had a lot of reasons to continue to fight in that game. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I thought that was great in that all-encompassing, forever enemy of sin that is a manifestation of our own hubris, really, as a people. I thought that's an interesting facet, if you will.
Sure.
And I felt like that story was easy to follow and pretty relatable. Sometimes games trying to outdo themselves by being so fancy with, twists and turns and everything here and there. This one was pretty straightforward. For the most part, I thought it was a pretty easy story to follow. The next thing that I have is, and when I was thinking about games and what make Final Fantasy X difficult, I thought, boy, the sphere grid kind of is. But the sphere grid also has you can go two different routes to the sphere grid. You can do I know what I'm doing because I'm familiar with the game and I'm familiar with RPGs. Or you can do, hey, I'm pretty new to this and I need some help guiding me amongst the sphere grid. So for new players, that option was available to them. To make, hey, you know what? The sphere grid looks pretty overwhelming when I'm looking at it.
Right.
At first, no, it's okay. There's a system that's going to help you there. So the sphere grid helping you through it. I felt that's good for first timers. Fun side. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, it's definitely going to help people along that haven't played before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was my big. I was going to
give you a counter to that, but I think my counter is it doesn't matter. It's not very solid. I was going to say you don't get much of a choice in that circumstance if it's kind of new to you, but are you really going to care about having Black Mage spells on Kamari the first round that you play that game? Probably not. He's a Lancer.
No.
So let's that
yeah. And if you want to play the game again, the game has great replay value. Then next time you go and play it, you can adjust the sphere grid and do the way you want. So I really like the side games in Final Fantasy X. I think Blitzball is fantastic. It gets a little easy once you figure it out. but it is a really fun game. It has, it kind of plays to the sports, maybe the sports crowd interest, who might be picking up this game new for the first time, or somebody who, I've never really done the JRPG thing or RPG thing. What interest does this have for me? Oh, wow, this whole Blitzball game, which is, a combination of these different mega sports here in the world, in the United States, kind of comes together. And it is a lot of fun. I love Blitzball. I can't stop playing Blitzball sometimes.
I was surprised at when sometimes they put large, well thought out mini games in these Final Fantasy games that are, not bad on their own. And Blitzball at the time wasn't too bad of a mini game within a game. So,
loved it.
All right.
Yeah.
A counter though, it was clunky. Let's be real. It had its moments where you said, like you said, you swim behind the opponent's goal and you pass it a few times and wear them out, and you can score automatically. It was a little bit clunky, but it was a lot of fun. It was stressful the first time you had to play through it for the story, at least, to try and win, against the Luca Goers and all that. Yeah.
Oh, 100% agree. But, it is a broken system. You figure it out really quick. All that I do, I get the ball, I swim backwards and make everybody chase me. I throw it up to my big dog. He goes up, and then, his shot of 40 against, the goalie with 12. It's it's too easy. But
it's a fun game. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Despite the voice acting, I think that the characters are pretty diverse and entertaining. Mm-hmm. Even though, like I said, and I've griped about this before, the voice acting for Titus is rough. The voice acting, because he narrates this thing too. And the narration portion of it, I feel like after playing it again, is really well done. I really like when Titus is narrating kind of that omniscient view. Mm-hmm. When he has that, oh man, I really like that. I think he does a great job, and I think I really think that's great.
Yeah, he's telling the story from the perspective of the future. It starts basically, his narration starts at the end of the game, and he's telling you his story from up to that point, how he got there to the end of the game.
Listen to my story.
Right, and that's the first line of the whole game, and.
Yeah.
What's funny is that was right around the time that I started watching that show Futurama, and the guy that voices Fry and Titus, they kind of remind me a little bit of each other, of how they, go about life and all that. Fry is goofier, obviously, and he makes me laugh more, but you kind of get that same feel to a point, and so, I could hop on board with that one. That being said, I'm going to say, though, man, some of that voice acting was harsh.
It's kill. Oh, and you know that I am the first to agree with you on that.
Yeah, it was harsh.
I think that is. I think it's forgivable, though. I think
it's
the game
forgivable. Sure. It's early voice acting in video games, but at the same time, there's that famous scene that if you can get through it, you're going to get through the rest of the game. But
that is true. It's painful, though.
Yeah. So everybody knows that has or is going to play the game out there. There's going to be a scene, maybe a third of the way through the game, that you're going to question why, how did that? Okay, it happened.
Is there no quality control anymore?
Who signed off?
Here's my last point. Well, I said great cutscenes, but
Okay. Minus
any Final Fantasy
minus
ever.
That. Yeah.
Minus that. But like the early Blitzball cutscene with that, more metal music, that was so cool. I feel like the story is a little more linear, and for those people who may be new to JRPGs and maybe feel like I'm not really sure about this whole questing thing, it does do a good job of presenting the story in a linear fashion.
Yep,
there are things that you can do in the side quest, but here's the thing about this is so much better of a system than Final Fantasy XIII's linear nonsense. That game was it's funny because they're both linear. It's both point A to point B, go here. Okay, you're going to the next spot, here to here. But oh my gosh, Final Fantasy X does so much better of a job. I mean,
Are you already dogging on my
better.
next game that I'm telling everybody to play first, number 13?
Oh, get out of here. I know that ain't that. Get that nonsense out of here. Don't even.
No. All right. Hey, I will agree that the straightforwardness of number 10 for a new player, for someone that hasn't done one of these games in this series, I think, and you mentioned this, you can pick this game up, put it down, come back to it a month later, pick it up again, and you're not going to be super lost on where you are, because the game is, it's going to kind of guide you along of where you're going. It's not a big open world, let's say. You're kind of along a path, sort of, but you know where you need to go next. And it's very clear, so it's easy to pick up and put down and follow along when you need to or when you can.
And here's the last part that I'm going to say about this game is the story is a great story, and it does tackle a lot of cultural issues that are happening in the United States,
all around the world, and I feel like a lot of these games do too,
around the world, absolutely. But just like the very obvious, like Albed, people feel a certain way, discrimination against the Albed as a people, and there's a lot that is going on that's a very, very cultural issues. So I think that the story's great. I think it's a timeless story. So really enjoy it. Really love it. So okay, that's my 10. I think it's a great start for anybody who's looking to get into the series. I don't think it's the best game of the series, but I think it's the easiest to get into.
Okay. I have a quick counter to that.
All right, let's do it.
Who has a PlayStation 2 with a copy of 10?
Who needs one? It's for the PS3 and PS4.
There you go. That's all you need to hear, everybody. You can get it downloaded on the PS4
Did
store,
you just bait me?
Maybe or not. I'm just saying, I don't have a copy of that game lying around right now, and so I'm just saying. All right, another counter to that game. I already countered voice acting rough at times. Not gonna lie. Severe system. Like I said, it is kind of linear, like the story. So for somebody new playing the game, it's going to be fun to just kind of follow along, and you're going to go through it. Maybe the next time you play through the game, you're going to do something a little different. Why wouldn't I want to suggest this as the first one? I wouldn't suggest this as the first game because it's not true Final Fantasy. There you go.
You rascal.
I said it, but I had to. So number 9, I will disagree with that. I would say number 9 is a true Final Fantasy. It harkens back to so many Final Fantasy things that that's hard to disagree with. Number 10, new system, new voice acting, new graphics, new everything, and it moved on, if you will. Better or worse. So
I feel like it has a lot of Final Fantasy elements to it.
It absolutely does. I think really what it was the precursor to the modern Final Fantasy, if you will.
Interesting.
Because yes, it is still turn-based, but man, they right after that was the end of it. That was the last turn-based game, and you could kind of feel it with that one. It was beginning to be faster paced, a little more actiony. Yeah, you could swap people in and out. And so for a new player, it's going to be very friendly that way. But number 11, number 12, 13, all 14, the rest, 15, all action based. And, it's the beginning of that.
Well, 13 is turn based. It's just a different system.
Let's not talk about it.
I know. Let's just ignore it.
Okay. So
and to all of our 13 fans out there, it's not personal. No. It's not personable.
Oh, it's personal from me. It's personal.
No, it's personal for Scooter. It's just business for me, I guess.
Great.
I mean, we don't like it, but if you do, fantastic.
All right, my last one. Billy Mays here for your next Final Fantasy that you should play first. Are you a new player to the JRPG series? Well, come on down to the aisle number 7 because Final Fantasy VII is on sale. Also, for a limited time, you can get back to your roots in Final Fantasy. I mean, come on. Is there anything else I need to say? It's Final Fantasy VII. Like, all right, I'll just start with that. If you don't know or haven't heard about this game, I'm sorry, number one. Number two, please go out and look up what's going on the internet. There's a remake happening. This is, and we've talked about this is one of the biggest games around the world, period. It has launched the success not only of the PlayStation platform, but of a JRPG series, bringing it around the world to millions and millions of people to see and experience. This for me is it. This is, and yeah, I grew up with this. Yeah, this is one of my first ones I ever played. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But this really is it. This is the genesis for me of the good bunch, all right? There's a lot of really good ones before this and all of that. Cullen, I'm sure you're going to have a lot to defend against this, and I'm ready to go, all right? Let's fisticuffs this one, man. I mean, I'll go down my list in a minute, but yeah, start. If you have never played Final Fantasy and you want a legitimate recommendation from me, number 7, just do it. All right, first things first. Yeah, the characters are blocky. They have bricks for arms, okay? I get it. Get over that fact. As soon as you get over that fact and you get through the game that way, I mean, hey, you're going to have a great time. The story, the characters, the drama, the battle system, the questing, the in-game loot that you have to grind for, the not only the final boss, which, I mean, I would argue that Sephiroth is one of the best just evil characters ever created, period, in a lot of series. I mean,
I would agree.
Just how, he just feels so evil, and I love that. The music, I mean, I'll talk about that later, but you got so much going for this game, and at the time, this was back released in '97. So, and Cullen, you talked about that a bit. Mariners were looking good. We had Griffey, we had Cora, we had Buhner, everybody big, and so it was a good time for us in life too. But it was just, it was such a pivotal game at the time. Place, the system, how it moved everything forward. I'm gonna keep talking about stuff in a minute, but all right, give me at least one rebuttal. Come on.
It's tough to start with 7 because it's going to be tough to be as satisfied with the Final Fantasy after playing 7. You will have a tough time finding a better game in the Final Fantasy series, so you might be grasping at straws for the rest of your Final Fantasy search play of greatness, whatever you might want to call it. You're kind of starting at the top. You're starting at the apex, the best of the Final Fantasies, and then where do you have to go from there?
It is true, because after, I mean, number 8 is how I got kind of, fed into this whole system. And then I played number 7, and then I realized that was one of the best games I've ever played. And then you want more of that. And I think they got us hook and bait, for the rest of our lives with that game. All right, I'm going to go down a few other things I'll just say about it. It's classic Final Fantasy. It's turn-based gameplay. So left side of the screen are enemies, right side are your friends. You got a choice of how you want to fight them. It's very strategical, slow-paced, and those are the battle systems. The rest of it is pretty linear, the way that you guide your characters through the world and story. And there's a nice overworld map for you to explore and have fun, side questing on. Classic Final Fantasy stuff, even from number 1 kind of days. So that alone, I think you're gonna recognize and realize, once you go back and play through other Final Fantasies after playing this one, hey, this has a lot of the old school elements in it. Mm-hmm. That being said, it was definitely new at the time. At the time, it was the first go at a full 3D Final Fantasy. So there were tons of new elements and features and things that were happening in it. Probably a lot of stuff I'm gonna not know or even think about to talk about because, like I said, this was one of the first ones that I ever played. So I didn't go from that like you did from that the 2D to 3D. This was my first, right? So why you should have it be your first? All right, audience. One thing. This is what you need to know about me, and this is what you need to know about this game. The music, Nobuo Uematsu in this game probably put down some of my favorite songs of video games, period, along with, I mean, okay, you can talk Mario and all those other fun stuff, but the main theme of Final Fantasy VII, it's what, 8 minutes long or something. That it just listen to it.
In post-production, I know that this is going to be playing softly in the background.
I would hope
even though
so. I
now
hope
that I'm
somebody
talking
does
about
that.
it.
Jeez, we got some crap producers. Good producers behind us, but we'll see what we can do.
The best producers. The
That-
best.
Worthless producers. It is some of the most wonderful, video game music. You put it on, you hear that soundtrack load up, and when you go to that overworld map and you hear that game track, the soundtrack come up, you know what game you're playing and you know what story you're in, and it sets you back to such a nostalgic time, especially for me as a kid that played it growing up. I put that soundtrack on and I'm going, gosh, it's summer days. I'm out of school. I've got a video game to play. All right, where's Ross and Austin, my other friends to play this game with? And so, all right. One other thing, Cullen, that I love about this game, I could go on and on. God,
Hit me with it.
you have no idea what is going on with this story and Cloud, even at the end to a point. It's so, and especially as a young player or as a first time playthrough, for somebody new playing this series, this story with the main character Cloud is so fun and convoluted to a point. You can follow it, but you're just confused. And I love those kind of stories where you're not sure what's going on inside the head of the main character, the person that you're trying to follow. And
Sure.
there's a lot of complications. There's a lot of inward reflection. There's a lot of outward pressures and stuff going on, and not only to mention meteors coming down to destroy the earth, and all that. And you got Sephiroth and your main enemies and all that. So the main character's story is just so interesting, and if you play the other side, like Crisis Core, it's a side game to this where you learn a lot more about the backstory of the main character and Zack, the other main character in the game that you don't really realize is a main character. It really fleshes itself out, and I love those psychological kind of thrillers, and I think this is why I like this game. If you like psychological kind of thrillers, Mulholland Road, any kind of movie like that, not quite up that alley, but this is going to get you close.
Sure.
Did I mention this stuff is getting remade right now? So if you want to wait,
Don't we have an episode on that?
oh wait, did we have an episode on that?
I think we might have a couple episodes that talks about
Did
it.
we have an episode? I'm not sure if we did. Hey, if we had an episode on that, you guys go check that out. You might check back on the list here. Maybe in an episode or two ago, we might have talked about the remake
Perfect.
coming out. So there's a remake coming out. I don't think I need to talk more about that. Go look at that.
Yep.
And I guess I would say I would play the old one first. And this is gonna sound elitist, kind of like saying, "Oh, you should go read the book before you go see the movie," or
Sure.
whatever. But maybe
It's
I'm
true.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But in this case, I feel like this is one of those games that this is one of those pivotal points in video games where it went from classic to modern, right? You went
Yep.
from 2D to 3D, and this was the first 3D. And it still retained a lot of those, the battle systems, those kind of things, very classic stuff, but it was a full 3D game. Go play the old book, go read the old one before you see the new one. All right, last thing. The last thing. The Aerith storyline created so much drama and does to this day. So there you go. You can have fun mulling about that. As a new player, you're going to see that scene and you're going to wonder and you're going to think about it. And just know at the time, it hit all of us hard, It's
Yeah.
a good game. It's a good game. Do I need to remind you that this is Final Fantasy VII, Cullen?
I mean, and with that being said, what is there that I can rebuttal that?
Oh, come on.
Well,
No,
like
you-
I said, I
no, you
think
got
the only
something.
thing that you can really say is that you're kind of at the apex of great games, and it's going to be a little bit disappointing probably when you're playing other ones. Now, Final Fantasy VII is not everybody's favorite game, and that's fine.
I get it.
So there are some people that are going to disagree with this, but I think by and large, there's probably going to be a lot of people who say, yes, 7 was one of the best games that was ever made. And if you are trying to find a better Final Fantasy after that, you might struggle in doing so. So even if this is your first game and it is a great introduction to the series because it is such a fantastic game, you have to take it with a grain of salt when you move on to the other ones that so far there's not another Final Fantasy that probably rivals 7's greatness. Now we all have
For a
ones
lot of
that
us.
we
Yeah,
love.
for a lot of us, yeah.
I mean, Tactics is my favorite, and I
Right.
think that there are elements of Tactics that do better than 7. But I have
But
to
for a new player,
admit
for somebody new.
Yeah, for somebody new, yeah, 7 is a fantastic starting point, and there's really not a whole lot that you can say poorly about 7. There's not a whole lot of critiquing that you can really do as far as a game goes.
I
Yeah,
could, but
it's
I'm not going
blocky,
to.
but it's like you said, it's blocky, but that's not a knock on the game. That's just that was the best that they had at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fantastic game, and I think if you started with 7, you'd probably go, "Wow, what a fantastic game!" And if the other games are like this, which there are certainly elements in other games are that are in Final Fantasy VII that you would see, repeated themes and repeated
Yeah.
characters and
Yeah.
monsters, and you'd see those things. But that'd be my one gripe, Scooter, is if you start here,
It's downhill, sort of. But hey,
kind of
what a world to jump into and to get a chance
Agreed.
to explore. All of them are great, but that one especially for me is you hop in that world and you go around that map and you get lost in it.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great thing about these games. It's easy to get lost in these worlds, even though this world or that world is our world.
Weird enough, right?
Yeah. So, but we got to find out. We got to find out what year that is. If it's like way in the future after us, or way in the past behind us.
We'll have
I'm
to
not
do
really
some
sure.
more digging around of the internets.
Them internets. Oh well, that was good. I enjoyed that.
Did we answer the question? If which one should you play first?
Well, I think that we both gave a couple of good starting points for different people who are going to grasp onto different concepts and different things. So,
Sure.
Nailing it down to one, I to agree with you, I think that 7 is probably a great place to start. But like like what I said, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough to find another one after that if you're really trying to get into the series. I mean,
It is. And, 10 isn't bad to start either because it's more modern and voice acting, so.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Hey, lots of good stuff there, though. I think that I hope that maybe one of our listeners who hasn't played one of those ones yet, or maybe a new listener who is new to the Final Fantasy grind, listens to this and goes, oh, okay, well, that kind of sounds like my bag right there. I'll give that a go.
there you go. Hopefully so. Hopefully we gave you
Hopefully
some
so.
good advice. Some quality tidbits of information, if you will.
Some QA,
There you
quality
go.
advice. I'm all about acronyms.
Hey man, well that was good. Thank you much, Cullen. I think we got a bit out. Hopefully we'll see Ross next round once school is done and all that, and it should be a couple weeks down the road.
Yeah, I look forward to the next couple shows that we're doing. So,
Any
all
other
right,
big
buddy.
news to let everybody know about? I'm trying to think. What do we got coming up?
Boy, what do we have coming up? I don't know what we have coming up. We got a couple of shows that we got in line here.
We do.
Final Fantasy IV. I know we're going to talk about that one sooner rather than later.
That one's coming up. That's going to be good. I'm excited to talk about it before.
I think we'll talk about battle systems. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll talk about
With
battle
Ross,
systems.
I'm pretty sure that he's going to be on that show. And then, of course, we're going to be ramping up on the Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff. So keep in tune for that.
As soon as that comes out in June.
And shout out to everybody that we have been grabbing our information from. Final Fantasy Union on YouTube's and a whole bunch of others that I'm not going to remember currently. We just want to say thank you guys for putting out your content. It's amazing. And we appreciate everything you guys do. We just wanted to give a big thank you to all the Final Fantasy YouTubers and podcasters and everybody out there.
Yeah, and it's fun to be in a community and an environment where people have different viewpoints and are able to say, oh, okay, well, I didn't really think of that before, but Final Fantasy Academia, if you will. It's cool to be part of that. Yeah, it's cool to be in that community, and we do thank all of our fellow YouTubers, podcasters, bloggers, whoever.
Everybody out there that plays, right? Yeah. And everybody
and even more important, the people who are listening and supporting.
Hey, we love y'all.
All right. Well, it's been real.
Hey, it's been fun, buddy.
It's been real fun. Take it easy, buddy.